Greetings, my name is Martin and I've only recently started this YouTube channel, so in order to grow my viewership, it would feel like wasting a massive opportunity to not talk about housing this week. But don't turn off just now, only because it's the topic of the week and I'm not personally invested very much. That doesn't mean that I can't have a couple of very interesting thoughts about it anyway. Because while I may not be interested in housing right now, what if the housing as we have it right now is only the very bare bones foundation of what we might have in the future? And I don't mean crap like bigger houses and more stuff to put into bigger houses and maybe having more types of houses and multiple houses and taller houses. I mean player housing as the very foundation of the world of Warcraft in the future. Maybe already in, but definitely after, the last Titan. This is the Eye of Kilrock. Let's look into that. Okay, that intro sure was a bunch of incoherent crazy talk. Let's put some order into that, like the good Titan servants we are, right? World of Warcraft is changing, and the War Within and Midnight are only the beginning. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Delves, housing, lore walking, more RPG, more story, more single-player content. Heroic world tier, prey system, PvP zone, more uninstanced open world content. Silvermoon, Zulaman, Northrend, a priority on reworking old zones instead of just adding new ones, while the old ones rot away in time stasis. If you look past the 9 bosses, 8 dungeons, a couple of delves and 2 more seasons to come, the shift in design philosophy compared to previous expansions is massive. And I believe housing might be the connecting piece at the center of it all. Let me elaborate. With only 2 houses that you can build, 1 alliance, 1 horde, and plenty of time you may have to spend in order to put the things in there that you want to put in there, I can't shake the feeling that player housing is this big thing today and surely for a patch or 2 into Midnight. But what then? What when all the houses are built and filled up? I'm pretty sure plenty of players will keep on farming out all the bits and pieces and redecorate every other day, but I'm also fairly sure that this is not the majority of players. I mean, we're talking about a community of people who take a week off for every new patch, then play 16 hours a day for the week and then complain about time gating and that there's nothing to do in the game the week after. Now, obviously, I know that this is a hyper minority and I'm exaggerating quite substantially, but we also all know that this holds a bit of truth for many of us. So, what when all the houses are built and decorated 2 weeks from now, and all the little things are farmed out a couple of weeks into the new expansion? If this isn't supposed to be another throwaway expansion gimmick, they have to come up with something. Or they already have come up with something, we just don't know it yet. And this is the start of our little what if journey I want to take you on today. The last Titan is going to take us back to Northrend, which is a very unique place in Azeroth, and it seemingly has the main Titan facility hidden under its surface. And this makes sense, of course, as the North Pole of the Earth is also known to be the access point to the Hollow Earth, with the only real difference being that the lizard people were swapped out for spider people in the World of Warcraft. But all jokes aside, with Ulduar, with the hidden machinery under Icecrown Citadel, with the Sholazar Basin, even though it wasn't this island back then, lore-wise, Northrend clearly has this vibe of that lost island away from the public and everything else in Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms, where the Titans run their weird little experiments. And when I say Titans, I mean Blizzard. But if housing isn't supposed to be this one expansion feature and there wasn't any cataclysmic event on Northrend to reshape the entire map, what's going to happen there really? We are going to happen. Yes, maybe we go to Northrend to fight the final war against the Void or the Titans or the Old Gods or all of them combined. But we also go there to colonize the place, and Northrend is going to be only the beginning. It's going to be a little test island for Blizzard, our Titans, to see what happens when the world gets taken over by players and their neighborhoods. If it works well, fine, we'll continue with that and the rest of the world. If it doesn't, it just stays locked away on Northrend and we never talk about it again. Think about it. It's been almost 15 years since we left Northrend and never really returned, and our expedition outposts of Garish's Landing, Valiant's Keep, New Agamand and Westguard Keep were most likely deserted and left to rot for that entire time. We, as players, as well as the entire Horde and Alliance armies, had other stuff to do in other places. So when we return there, it may not be like back in Wrath, where some invisible busy NPCs spent months of their time preparing everything for our arrival when the expedition launches. No. This time we land there and first have to set up our own camp. A new housing slot, a new view, a new landscape, new stuff to put in there. I mean, this could even start earlier, maybe not the first, but the second patch of Midnight. Trolls colonizing near Sulaman, or Blood Elves near Silvermoon, humans reclaiming Stratholme. Maybe not that, maybe something for another Alliance race, but you get the idea. But the Last Titan will definitely be the point in time in where Blizzard has to prove that housing isn't a Midnight feature, but a core feature of WoW as a whole, if they want to move forward with this. So they will also have to build upon the existing system. It can't just remain a little cosmetical gimmick and time sink forever. Which is why these new places to house won't just be instance neighborhoods with no other function than building and looking at houses. They will be integrated into the open world. So when you set foot into Garish's Landing a few weeks into the expansions, there will be all the usual vendors that you're used to from a regular faction hub. But there will also be player houses in between and player neighborhoods around. And with renown and other reward systems built around this new housing experience, let's say the Midnight neighborhood expeditions on steroids, we may find ourselves in a version of massive multiplayer garrisons. But also good, because they will now be an active part of the world we play in, and with the option of actively participating in an ongoing group project. Also with way more creative freedom than garrisons would have ever allowed. Making our way through the expansion, we may encounter this type of gameplay loop several times, conquering the Grizzly Hills, Sholazar Basin, Zuldrak and Storm Peaks, while other zones like Icecrown may remain more regular X-Pack zones to quest, gather, explore and adventure in. And at the end of it all, we will have defeated the Void, the Light, the Old Gods, the Titans and Scourge and Brycool and Naga. And when the dust settles and the expansion has been played, we may notice that it's also been a long time since we've set foot into all of the old zones back in Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. Yeah, we zoomed across it every once in a while to blast Karazhan for a chance at Midnight or whatever, but besides visiting the capitals every once in a while, mainly the Portal Room, let's be honest, we don't even know what's going on out there. Even after the Legion was defeated, we've spent the past decade chasing one world-ending threat after another all across Azeroth and beyond. Meanwhile, the undead are still ravaging in the Plaguelands, and nobody ever bothered to quench the flames in Stratholme. Stranglethorn Vale and the Hinterlands may have fallen into the hands of troll tribes, and even without the Old Gods in control, the remaining Akir and Kiraji pop up all over the south of Kalimdor again. This is our time to fend off these dangers in raids and dungeons once and for all, and create new settlements all across these zones in order to make sure they won't reclaim the land again. And in the new expansion, it is not only going to be limited to personal houses and automated renown-driven processes in pre-made hubs, but also individual workshops for craftsmen, player-driven trading posts, free building areas for things like parks or monuments. Adventurers won't just gather resources and transport them between settlements as per the usual quests, but with a real impact on the towns they interact with. Villages can belong to a faction or remain neutral. They may even be exclusive to a race in some cases. Towns and villages in Northrend, Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms will be our home, and over time, the other places may become that too. Adventures will not only happen in faraway lands, they still might in some cases, but also right in front of our village walls or fences. Maybe some villages may specialize in trade or mining, others will become fortresses. This is our way into a player-driven future. There will obviously still be an overarching narrative and the big story heroes we look up to, but a lot of our active playtime will be spent in order to grow and maybe defend our village or travel the ever-changing world if you are the anti-housing type of player. Because I also believe that this player-driven experience is not for everyone, and it doesn't have to be. Making communal building and developing a core part of the game doesn't mean that we can't have the usual endgame loops anymore. Of course, there are still going to be the raids, the dungeons, the delves to venture into without ever having to directly interact with this part of the game. But for everyone who is looking for this living and breathing world, the community, and actually interacting with other players in more meaningful ways than chatting hi and GG bye into the chat at the beginning and end of a M+ run, I believe that this is an interesting direction to look into. If you're not looking at housing as this little midnight gimmick, but as the foundation of future content, this could be the World of Warcraft we see after the last Titan has fallen, or risen, or whatever he does. And I think that's a really interesting thought to have. And I haven't even talked about PvP yet. This was the Eye of Kilrog. See you next time.